What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here. Welcome to day 8 of my 365-day graphic novel review challenge. Yesterday, I talked about a John Ostrander book from DC Comics where he took a somewhat minor character that a lot of people are familiar with, and he kind of dusted off that character and made him a little bit more popular. Today, I want to talk about another example where John Ostrander did that with the Martian Manhunter, Son of Mars. Yes, Son of Mars is the name of this book. And this collects issues 0 through 9 of the Martian Manhunter solo series from the 1990s, and it has art by Tom Mandrake, who also drew the Spectra series that I talked about yesterday a little bit. And Martian Manhunter is a character who I have always spent my entire comic book reading life thinking that he works better as a member of the Justice League and not so well as his own solo character, because he's basically a combination of Batman and Superman. He's got the broodiness of Batman, he's a detective like Batman, but he's the last son of his planet like Superman, but at the same time, he's just different enough from Superman because he actually remembers Mars, whereas Superman is a son of Earth just as much as he's a son of Krypton, and so he's a little bit different from those characters, but at the same time, he doesn't have a whole lot of his own that he could bring to a solo series, or at least so I thought. And this book really works well because it takes elements that were introduced in the Justice League book from around this time, and it uses those elements to make him work better in a solo series. It, first of all, uses the White Martians, who were from the opening arc of Grant Morrison's Justice League run. It uses them and the Martian city that's at the South Pole. Jean uses that as kind of his own Fortress of Solitude, and I thought that was a brilliant idea, to use something that Grant Morrison just kind of introduced in his Justice League run, and then he didn't do anything else with it. Go ahead and use that concept in a Martian Manhunter solo series. That makes a lot of sense. It never occurred to me that that city would show up again in another comic after that storyline in Justice League. And then also, this brings back Jim, the son of Saturn, who is a character from, I think, the 80s from DC Comics. I don't think anyone actually cares about Jim, but he was also in a blink-and-you-miss-y cameo in another arc of Grant Morrison's Justice League, where the Injustice Gang was using Jim and his mind control powers in one of their evil schemes. And this book is using that character and kind of exploring him a little bit. I won't say exploring him, but they are developing a backstory for Jim that I don't think was present in that character before, forming connections between him and the Martian Manhunter that I think is really cool. If there are like 3 fans of Jim, the son of Saturn out there, maybe they don't like the connections that are formed between these 2 characters. I think it's kind of neat. And also they are, again, exploring what would happen to this character after his mind is kind of fried by the Injustice Gang. What happens to this guy? We never see what happens to him in Grant Morrison's Justice League, and so Ostrander and Mandrake, they do a good job of kind of showing, okay, this guy, he's a broken character, and Martian Manhunter feels responsible, so he's going to have to try and help this guy. And it's got a mystery story, which is a given because the Martian Manhunter is a detective, but it's not just a normal, mundane, earthbound mystery. It's got a lot of science fiction elements in it. Ostrander does an amazing job marrying these 2 seemingly unmarryable genres of science fiction and noir detective. He takes all of that and blends it very perfectly with this book. I really like what he's doing here. He's got the DEA or the DEO. I can't remember. It's an organization in the DC universe that's kind of sort of like S.H.I.E.L.D. Mr. Bones from Infinity Inc. He shows up in this book very briefly. That organization is kind of trying to investigate the Martian Manhunter. There's this really neat concept that I'm pretty sure hadn't shown up before this, where the Martian Manhunter, he's a shapeshifter, and that's something that we've known for a very long time, but Ostrander and Mandrake, they take it a step further and say, instead of him just having 2 identities like the Martian and then John Jones, a human detective, he has a whole bunch of identities that he uses all over the world, and he uses all of these identities to fight crime in different ways. One of his identities is a bungling supervillain, and he uses that identity to try and keep an eye on the supervillain community, and then maybe he can accidentally stop bad guys from doing things when he's in that identity. And there's several different examples of that where he has many identities that he uses throughout this book, and I thought that was a really brilliant use of this character's superpowers that we've never seen before, as far as I know. Before I read this book, I was 100% certain that the Martian Manhunter would work so much better as a part of a team aspect in the Justice League than he would as his own solo character. Now that I've read this, not only am I convinced otherwise, but I am really, really anxious to read some more Martian Manhunter, and I probably will in the future. I think that there is at least one more volume of Ostrander's and Mandrake's run on the Martian Manhunter. There's at least one more volume that DC has put out. I don't think that there's any more, but if you are in any way intrigued by this book, by what I've told you, please check it out. It's very good. I was very much impressed with this book, and I am looking forward to reading the next volume. So those are my thoughts on Mandrake and Ostrander's Martian Manhunter, Son of Mars. So that's all that I have to say about this book today. Tune in tomorrow where I am going to talk about another John Ostrander book. This is not going to be the John Ostrander theme week. I don't have enough John Ostrander stuff to do a theme week on him, but I am going to be talking about one more Ostrander book tomorrow. So tune in tomorrow to see what I'm going to be talking about there. In the meantime, you guys have a great rest of the day, and I will catch you later. Have a good one.